Planning Division and the ESIA continues to come under scrutiny. Some professionals, this time from a top physical planner, this time former chief planner Juliet Schillenfeld. And this complaint, shares in detail her concerns of the ESIA. Let's listen to Franklin Peter Moses presenting that letter.
These strategically ecological and sensitive assets, valuable natural proximity. This is professional.
We'll go back to that in a minute there. Let's do this and we'll come back, Dominica. Just stick around, stick around, stick around.
Graduate of the McGill University in Canada. My comments are therefore grounded in experience, in extensive professional experience, a thorough understanding of the planning framework, and a deep commitment to safeguarding Dominica's environmental integrity, upholding development standards, and ensuring adherence to the rule of planning law. At the outset, I wish to state clearly that this objection is not intended to oppose or delay the Dominica International Airport project. Rather, it is made in support of sound, evidence based decision making, ensuring that all associated developments are appropriately cited, properly justified, and rigorously assessed in accordance with the laws and established planning principles of Dominica. In my capacity of Chief Physical Planner, I coordinated in the review of the Draft Physical Planning Act number 5 of 2002 in collaboration with state attorneys prior to its enactment in Parliament, a process that involved intensive and detailed, deliberate, and broad stakeholder engagement. Section 22 of the said Act mandates meaningful public participation in development proposals of this scale and significance. It is therefore of serious concern that the public participation process surrounding this application and its ESIA appears to have been both delayed in its disclosure and conducted under limitations that constrain full, informed, and effective engagement. This raises substantial issues of procedural fairness, which are fundamental to law decision making, rather, to lawful decision making, and may expose the process to challenge by way of judicial review. Public consultation must not only occur, but must be timely, accessible, properly informed, and genuinely participatory. In this instance, that standard has not been met. Assuming your own in depth review of the ESIA document, I trust you will agree that they are deficient in several critical respects and, more fundamentally, fail to provide adequate justification for the establishment of yet another quarry on our island. I am not in favor of the indiscriminated approval of multiple quarry operations in Dominica, except where such development is critically necessary and demonstrably supported by sound technical justification and environmental impact review. It was indeed on my initiative that the quarry standards, which now guide the review of quarry applications, were developed. These standards were born out of a deep concern for the environmental degradation that can result from poorly regulated or excessive quarrying activity, and from a recognition of the need for a more structured, restrained, and disciplined approach to such developments, which are inherently intrusive and carry significant, often irreversible environmental consequences. In this context, it is important to note that the existing quarries on the island already possess both the quality and the quantity of materials required for the airport project. The question is, do we need another? Notably, the ESIA places primary emphasis on logistical considerations such as hauling distance, transport cost, and operational conveniences, yet provides no substantive technical evidence that the site was selected on the basis of geological suitability, material development for the structure, performance standards, or rigorous comparative evaluation of alternative quarries for a development of this nature, particularly within the environmentally sensitive context. Site selection must be grounded in sound scientific and engineering criteria rather than driven primarily by logistical convenience, where viable alternatives already exist. The ESIA fails to adequately demonstrate material suitability for airport infrastructure. It does not address whether the rock meets international aviation standards for runway construction, whether the material has been tested for durability, load bearing capacity, and resistance to weathering. The absence of laboratory testing, engineering validation, and recognized certification represents a significant deficiency and materially undermines the credibility of the justification advanced for a proposed development. In the absence of demonstrated necessity and material suitability, the environmental costs of this development cannot be justified on the basis of logistical convenience alone. The proposed quarry site bounds the Central Forest Reserve, one of Dominica's most ecologically sensitive and valuable natural assets. This proximity raises serious concerns regarding habitat fragmentation, edge effects, disruption of ecological corridors, the long term degradation of protected forest systems. The ESIA does not provide sufficient analysis of these impacts, nor does it demonstrate how the ecological integrity of the reserve will be maintained. The site is located within a high rainfall watershed with hydrological connections to the Pegua River system. Notwithstanding this, the ESIA lacks sediment transportation modeling, runoff impact analysis, and a downstream water quality projections. Given Dominica's terrain and rainfall intensity, this omission is both significant and unacceptable. Additionally, the area has been historically associated with mineralization, including copper deposits. The ESIA does not assess the potential for acid rock drainage, the mobilization of heavy metals, or the risk of contamination of surface and groundwater systems. This represents a critical oversight, particularly in light of the potential for irreversible environmental damage. Further, while the ESIA acknowledges the presence of terrestrial fauna and bird species, it nonetheless concludes that impacts will be limited within the support of comprehensive biodiversity surveys, habitat mapping, or an assessment of species and their vulnerabilities. This internal inconsistency undermines the overall credibility and reliability of the assessment. Even moderate habitat disturbance can have disproportionately severe ecological consequences. The ESIA acknowledged landslide risks, erosion potential, and the hydrological sensitivity, yet concludes that the site is technically suitable without demonstrating how these risks are quantified, mitigated, or acceptably managed. This represents a clear disconnection between the identified risks and the conclusions reached. The ESIA in its current form is inadequate to support informed decision making. It is characterized by insufficient scientific justification, internal inconsistencies, and incomplete environmental analyses and procedural concerns. Given the scale, sensitivity, and national significance of this project, it is my consideration, professional opinion, my considered professional opinion, and advice that the application be disapproved in its present form. Safeguarding Dominica's environment, its people, and its long-term sustainability is a statutory obligation of the Physical Planning and Development Authority. Dominica's identity as a nature island is not incidental. It is foundational to our economy, our tourism product, and our national legacy. Development must proceed, but it must be done so responsibly, transparently, and on the basis of sound science and planning principles. This submission is made in that spirit. I assure you of my best intentions. Sincerely, Juliet Shillingford Tong.
Thank you, Franklin Peter Moses. Another deep analysis of the recent ESIA presented at the Planning Division of Dominica. And this Juliet Shillingford was a former chief planner as well. So you've seen all the former chief planners are condemning this ESIA. The government seem insistent. It goes ahead. We heard last week the former ambassador and his position re the ESIA. And then, of course, we'll hear from General Brisbane, who responded. And let's listen again to Ambassador Felix Gregoire. His position on Debauche.
Statement on Debauche. As the former director of the Forestry, Wildlife and National Parks Division of the Government of the Commonwealth of Dominica, I wish to offer a humble and straightforward statement on the developments at Debauche. The Forestry, Wildlife and National Parks Division has long been at the forefront of environmental management. The division is no stranger to environmental impact assessments, commonly known as EIAs, having championed the need for EIAs in the formulation of projects and programs aimed at the sustainable use of natural resources for the benefit of all Dominicans. During my tenure as director, I worked with my staff to ensure that projects were executed in a balanced manner, providing social and economic benefits to Dominicans, while conserving and protecting the very resources that create those opportunities. The division has often been at the vanguard of EIAs, sometimes at a cost, but always in the national interest. I recall 3 significant projects, among others, that required our attention. 1, the Rural Electrification Project. 2, the Collyho Quarry. And 3, the Timber Salvage Project following the passage of Hurricane David. The division's position was never to stop projects that provided national benefits. Rather, our role and focus were to identify potential negative environmental impacts and propose mitigation measures in a calm, balanced, and effective manner. I also wish to mention the Matia Dam, which was formed while I served as Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Public Works. That event required technical expertise and, most importantly, faith, as it was an unfamiliar experience at that time. When I first saw the activity at Debauche, which resulted in the deposition of mud on the roadway, I made several inquiries to better understand the situation. At that early stage, I heard comments that were not directly related to environmental concerns. When I passed through the area a week later, I observed a substantial retaining wall under construction. On that occasion, there was no mud on the roadway. Subsequently, a number of activities have taken place in and around Debauche. A field visit conducted on site on January 13, 2026, attended by several professionals, community leaders, and members of the media, provided clarity regarding the removal of materials and the mitigation measures being implemented. In my view, this was an excellent platform for constructive dialogue. Those with concerns were able to express them, and representatives of the government and the International Airport Project provided explanations. Immediately following the official site visit, a media house facilitated another interview with individuals expressing concerns without the presence of officials to provide clarification or balance. This interview was live streamed and, in my opinion, sought to undermine the positive outcomes of the official visit. I regard this unofficial interview as a setback for responsible journalism in our country. The activities at Debonche are taking place primarily on private lands, with some occurring within the forest reserve and not within any national park. A considerable amount of information has been made available regarding these activities. Naturally, individuals have taken varying positions on the matter, with or without full knowledge of the facts. However, it is important to consider this issue within the broader national context. During my lifetime, Dominica has experienced three major natural disasters: Hurricane David in 1979, Tropical Storm Erika in 2015, and Hurricane Maria in 2017. Of these, Hurricanes David and Maria were the most devastating in terms of national impact and coverage. Hurricane David dealt a severe blow, with approximately 60% of the forest affected, particularly in the southern region of the island. The Forestry, Wildlife and National Parks Division remained steadfast. Through deliberate effort and with nature's resilience, the forest recovered. And today I continue to appreciate the division's work in protecting Dominica's wildlife. Hurricane Maria was even more devastating, resulting in 100% defoliation of the forest. However, based on the experience acquired after Hurricane David, there was confidence that the forest would recover, and it did. This brings me back to Debonche. The area in question comprises approximately 26 acres, while the entire island has a total of 195,000 acres. I understand that less than 1 acre is inside the forest reserve. Now, if the entire island has recovered twice from widespread devastation, there is every reason to believe that Debonche will also recover. Indeed, it is far easier to manage a localized area than the entire island, and I am confident that appropriate measures are being taken to manage the activities at Debonche. Emotion is the greatest obstacle to effective environmental management, and sometimes this emotion can be an enemy. Success is achieved when facts, sound strategies, and diligent work are aligned. It is also important to consider the purpose of these activities at Debonche. The material being extracted is intended for use in constructing one of the most ambitious, necessary, and important projects in our nation's history. That is the International Airport Project. This is a development from which all Dominicans will benefit, regardless of individual positions. So those who are against the airport will benefit as much as those who support it. So in conclusion, I urge all Dominicans to align themselves with what is in the best interest of the country. At times, we may fail to see the bigger picture, but it is not too late to do so. I thank you.
Mr. Grego, I noticed you made no reference to the ESIA and the points made by this scientist and environmentalist. There was a quick response from Janelle Brisbane, scientist, who responded to the comments from Mr. Gregoire we want to share at this time. So ready, 141. Janelle.
Spain here. I am an interdisciplinary ecologist, a PhD student. First of all, I just want to clarify that according to the laws of the Commonwealth of Dominica under our Physical Planning Act, quarrying, it comes under mining. The law defines mining, including the taking of stones, and there are such things as shallow pit open mines. A simple search could be able to tell that to the public, so please let us not misrepresent information here. What I would like to ask is, especially to the Ministry of Environment and to my forestry colleagues, as once being a part of the Ministry of Environment, again, the official maps of the Commonwealth of Dominica have clearly expressed that this area has already encroached on the Northern Forest Reserve, which is, public information. And before I get further into this, I want to, say thank you to the Minister for your pledge to speak in with the members of the public, especially the scientific authority, and for, keeping it as scientific and factual as possible, for your pledge to for your pledge to respecting the rights of the Dominican people, especially our constitutional rights to access to information and sharing of information, especially with the ratification of the Escazú Agreement in 2024, which gives the public the right, the basic human right to access this information for to be part of public consultation prior to the commencement of this work and to seek out environmental justice and to be safe in seeking out environmental justice and standing up for our rights. So, thank you for your continued pledge to the general Dominican people, but also to our shared Kalinago ancestors. I would like to know, because this area has already encroached, one of your mitigation strategies speaks about the buffer zone to the Northern Forest Reserve and that we are bordering, but the official maps already show that we have taken out forest cover within the Northern Forest Reserve. So if that's the case, which the official maps show and the markings on the ground also show, then we have already gone against the mitigation strategy for a 50-meter buffer zone because we are already inside the park. So in that case, what are you all planning to do with that information? How are you planning on bringing back that 50-meter buffer zone and restoring the parklands?
So with the slight encroachment that has already happened, the division has stopped the developers, and we have also, together with the Land and Surveys division, came and redemarcate the buffer zone, including the 50 meters, and then the area that is already encroached, we're going to reforest the area. So we did an assessment, and in total, there's going to be an approximate of maybe 2,500 to 3,000 wildlings that we're going to replant in a space of 4 meters distance apart. And we intend to replant for trees that were existing. So we're going to use, I think, the Blue Maho, because we introduced Blue Maho here in the beginning, and we plant just the wild Maho itself and other species. So we already did the assessment of the area, and we intend to reforest the area.
So my follow-up question to that, on my scientific advice, I would actually advise against Blue Maho. Please, I would keep this as native species as possible. Our research has showed, Gary Oguis, who's here with me today, his master's research showed that this is actually the 4th densest valley for our parrots. So it's especially important that we plant as many native tree species as possible, especially food sources, and that would draw the attention away from the neighboring farms, because this is actually forcing wildlife onto neighboring farms and creating human-wildlife conflict. Wait, before you go into that, because I have another question. Given that they have encroached in this area, am I right to assume that Montreal...
I was not employed at forestry at the time where Mr. Gregoire, Ambassador Gregoire, was the head of forestry or within forestry at the time. But I myself, I'm a forester. You know, I have my Master's of Research in Ecology, and I'm actually pursuing a PhD in ecology at this moment. And all my research has been on Dominica. So just in case people need that background, I have looked at our forest. I actually did my master research on the impact of Hurricane Maria on our forest. So I have direct hand experience and a lot of data to, discuss his point about how our forest recovers after a hurricane, if he would so like to have that discussion with me. But I think it's very, I don't know quite how to put it at this moment, but it's a bit shameful, honestly, as a young professional, who looks up to these foresters who have set the pace, right? Who have created this field of forestry in Dominica, who have fought to protect our forest lines and our national parks. To hear somebody who is supposed to have so much professional duty to the country, professional experience, to completely ignore what the ESIA is saying and the concerns of the community and the voice of the river, what the river herself is saying, is quite surprising to me, to be very honest. I'm not sure how someone who's supposed to have so much professional experience is able to make such statements. But quite frankly, his statements do not even address the gaps of the ESIA. And so our concern then is, did he even look at what the ESIA is saying? Because a forester, any experienced, skilled forester, would be able to look at the information that has been provided in all three ESIAs and note that this project was not done for Des-Bois.
You said it was not done for Des-Bois. So you're very disturbed with what you heard this morning.
Well, nothing surprises me at this point, to be honest, Matt. I mean, we heard a statement from Ambassador Gregoire. We also heard a statement from the PS. And we read a statement from MMC. I'm not sure what is happening this morning, that they're all releasing their statements, but I'm happy to see that they're responding and at least taking note of what we're saying. But it's unfortunate that the same, PS who we have on record, by the way, at the site visit in January, refusing to believe that they have encroached on the Northern Forest Reserve. He refused to accept the map produced by Lands and Surveys, his own division. He refused to accept that map, and the professionalness of that map, the whole believability of that map, the officialness of that map. He actually threw it out the window.
He did?
And well, I mean, not literally threw it out the window, but yes, mentally threw it out the window. He did, and we have him on record because this was said at the site visit in January. And he also said on record that the laws do not matter. Like, what laws? That Parliament makes the laws, not the people of Dominica. And, the law is not a person. So what does it matter if they are breaking the laws or not at the site? So it's very interesting to hear now a statement that he's making, saying that they're following the laws, and it's a sign that the regulatory system is working. If the regulatory system were working, they would demand a complete redo of this ESIA so that it reflects properly the data and what Stonefield is. Because how is it that you have air and noise data coming from Crapo Hall, you have biodiversity data coming from Wesley and Anthony, and this is not us making it up. This is literally what the ESIA says. It says Wesley and Anthony on it, and if you were to plot the coordinates, you would land yourself in Crapo Hall. So again, this is not us making it up. This is copy and pasted from other ESIAs and sloppily put into Daywash. I'm not sure if they thought that we were idiots, the people who are reviewing this ESIA from the public. It's quite insulting actually to the community that they did not take the necessary time and care to put the correct information into the ESIAs. But I mean, I don't know, Matt, because if they were so concerned about doing this properly and getting it done sooner rather than later, then why not just do it properly in the first place? If you did it properly in the first place, we would not be here commenting as we are about all the errors on your documents, because the extent of the errors, I note that MMC said that they have corrected, some of these things, as in like the incorrect site information with Wesley and Anthony. They did not actually correct it. The ESIA in February still places the coordinates in Crapo Hall. The data still reflects a coastal system from Wesley and Anthony. They did not change the actual data. They just changed the title, Wesley and Anthony, into Stonefield. It's not one and the same. You cannot do that with a project with so much impact, especially as they're coming out with mercury, arsenic, and high bacterial levels in our water. This is a national environmental health emergency that they're reporting on. You cannot just treat this as lightly as they are treating it. What happens then to the health of all people downstream? Who then is going to take accountability for their health?
Well, I'm very surprised that Mr. Gregoire in his statement basically alluded that, Daywash will come back like we've seen after hurricanes. Can you make reference to that? Are you there?
Yes.
Yes.
I don't believe I've ever met Ambassador Gregoire in person. I would really love the opportunity to sit down with him and to, get his understanding on the matter, especially, Gary, myself as young ecologists. We would always love the opportunity to speak to our older foresters who, would be able to impart this wisdom on us and correct us if we are wrong so that we can proceed, going forward with the correct information. But comparing defoliation from a hurricane, so the leaves, that's literally what he said, that, the trees lost all their leaves.
Yes, he did.
But the trees are still there standing at the end of the day in the ground is essentially the comparison that he's making to you now completely removing the vegetation. So you're uprooting all these trees, you're removing the topsoil, and you're removing other layers of the soil to go down to the rocks. Now, Dominica is still a very large farming society. And I know all the farmers out there hearing that statement of, the land can recover so easily if the topsoil is removed. I know they know the importance that topsoil plays in having vegetation at the site in the first place. And if you were to take out all this, I'm not saying the site can never recover. Everything can be mitigated in life. Everything we can recover to some degree in life as humans, but at what cost, right? Are we going to spend $1,000 doing it, or are we going to spend $1 million doing it? And that is what is going to determine the level of recovery of the site. But just like physical planning, I'm not sure if you saw physical planning's letter to Montreal management with all their comments. They made it very clear that there's so many deficiencies in the SIA. Oops, 1 second. I'm getting a call. Sorry about that.
You'll get many calls. Yes, go ahead. Yes.
Yes, it's okay. Sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. But yes, so physical planning was commenting on the crusher plans, ESIA, which the PS misquoted, by the way. The crushing plan ESIA is the February ESIA, not December, like he alluded to. There's so many deficiencies down to environmental health and the Physical Planning Authority pointing out their concerns over the water samples and asking for data. What is the GPS data, the timing of these samples? They completely pointed out the complete absence of any aquatic life survey in these ESIAs. And they also made a statement, let me get it for you, right, in point 6 saying, overlooking these factors could result in lasting effects on biodiversity and habitats, livelihoods, and the economy. And this is where they're talking about mitigation measures for riparian zones, that they were concerned about soil and water contamination and how this project has ranked them as low impact. But there are actually 2 impacts that are of great public concern, and that they need to move these supposed low impact rating points into an area of higher concern, of high priority. Because, I mean, this project clearly does not prioritize environmental or social health. That they also want to see things like the forest reserve map be placed against the site map. I don't know. I know, like, there's so many things to point out, so many errors. I don't understand. I mean, it's the same thing with the Montreal management statement that was put out this morning. We have been asking for transparency, but putting out a blank statement is not transparency. You're saying that there's a forest officer who conducted the survey. Who is this forest officer, so that we are able to understand credibility, but also be able to question why certain data was put out over another? You have not once listed any expert besides Josiah Benoit. And like we said before, is Josiah Benoit a super expert, or were there indeed 5 other people helping him? Because one person cannot be the one responsible for calibrating the equipment, conducting all forms of surveys, interviewing community, writing the ESAs while being employed by the developer himself.
That would be definitely conflict of interest.
Absolute conflict of interest.
But I'm amazed to see that everybody's coming out of their holes this morning. Now we've seen some statements come from various sources, and I know you've been asking to see reports and you can exchange notes. But why are they coming out now? To speak to the issue.
But our thing is, Matt, again, we are scientists. We lead by data, but even beyond being scientists, we are Dominicans. We are members of our community. We've all grown up along this river. Many of us, like Gary, still live along this river. This is directly impacting our daily lives. This is a direct concern to us. So not just even being scientists in our professional capacity, this is a personal matter to us as well as Dominicans. And we have been calling for meetings. Can you please come and meet with the community? We don't want these one-on-one meetings. We want you to come to the community, the very people that you are there to serve. We want you to present us with the data. So the same in Montreal Management's letter that we saw today, they're talking about, how in their annexes they have information on geotechnical studies and so on and so forth. But at least the documents they presented to us, the ESIAs, which are still online, they have none of that information. So are you saying that you withheld that information from the public or included it after the fact is what we need to know, because the information we were presented with was completely devoid of it. And to the point where that same physical plan and letter that was issued on March 6th also points to the lack of data on the rock material. It says rock testing results from Crapo Hall and Dave Wash to be included, because there are none in these reports. So if Physical Planning Authority, which includes environmental health, agriculture, lands and surveys, physical planning, so on and so forth, if they themselves are asking for the data in March, it means that the ESIAs we were presented to that were published in February, December, and June of last year are obviously devoid of that information. So where is this data, and why is it that they're continuously putting out statements to try to counter us without even presenting once the data that would speak volumes? If they just put out that data in and of itself, they can stop putting out all these other blanket statements. But I don't know, Matt. It's just
But it seems that you're very disappointed with what you've read thus far from these statements.
Yeah, I'm very disappointed. Our team is very disappointed because, again, to me, as a scientist and just, a person, I guess, um, if you are true to your word, and so much science has been done, you would just simply present the results. Why is it that you are so hesitant to give the people the information that they require? And why is transparency seeming like something that is such a luxury? Why are they treating us as if we are almost idiots in a sense with the information that they're putting out, like disrespecting our community that way and our professionals that way? And I mean, I remember a statement by the Speaker of the House talking about how the youth need to come back. But I mean, as a youth who has come back, and Gary also as a youth who has come back, are these our role models? Is this the work system that we have to integrate into? Is this the professional ethics that we are expected to adopt? Like if this is the environment that we are expected to come back and work within, I understand why most of my classmates have not found their way back to Dominica, quite frankly, because what is this? We're getting educated to then come back and have to deal with this level of ethics. And I don't even want to say childishness, because to me, children are very pure of heart. They would not act in this manner intentionally. And I think it's an insult to children actually to say that, an adult who's acting out of line is childish. No, you are acting like an adult who just has no moral compass, and that's not childish. That is just being an unethical person.
Wow, what a response there from Ginald Brisbane, scientist, ecologist, responding to Mr. Felix Gregor, former ambassador and former head of forestry in Dominica. Somebody says Ambassador Gregor conveniently addressed this issue with a recorded statement. He should now be challenged to call in and address this live on radio, as he has not addressed the fact what was presented as the ESIA for Dave Wash, which has been found to be false, which consists of information from other locations and compiled as one document and misrepresented the former recently conducted ESIA in Debouche. False information. On the line with me at this point, he's been following the issue very closely, Mr. Simeon Joseph, social scientist. He's been observing, and I'll have to make, of course, some presentation on his findings thus far. Mr. Joseph, good afternoon to you. How are you doing, sir?
Good afternoon. You make this sound rather loaded.
Loaded. You are loaded.
Well, I think, Matt, I want to begin this response to say, I think really and truly now, this is the time for mediation.
You said mediation? You said mediation?
Definitely, okay. Definitely. We are at a stage of national impasse. We have the construction of the international airport to complete. We don't want this to stall. We don't want this to be delayed. We do not want Dominica to suffer as a result of any hindrance or obstacle to the building of the international airport. Let us agree on that principle. The second thing we want to observe is that never before in Dominica, I can't recall in my immediate history, has there been such healthy debate and presentation of data and scientific fact on any national issue. That being said, allow me, to compliment all the people. I mean, Matt, the government would do well to listen to people like Ms. Brisbane, and I would even dare suggest that Ms. Brisbane should be made some representative of Dominica somewhere on some international body that deals with climate change and environment and those things. I think she would represent Dominica well, given the demonstrative level of information, intelligence, and most specifically maturity that I've heard coming from her as she presents facts in a very analytical way, in a very systematic way, with critical thought, analytical thinking, but more specifically, Matt, her willingness to engage. Every time she speaks of the need to engage people who have alternative views and facts to her for a healthy discussion. Matt, that is someone whom you can call a representative and a diplomat par excellence, based on her eclectic approach to this thing from the beginning. And she must be commended for that. Again, Matt, because we have to recognize that there are many professionals in Dominica who behave like they don't have a brain, they cannot think, or most specifically, their tongue is cut. And they would rather be hesitant to speak. She's doing it, and she's not doing it attacking anybody. She's not doing it undermining anyone. She's not doing it castigating anybody. She's doing it from a purely scientific, informational, professional, and engaging perspective. That's the second thing. B, we have seen attempts by people on the government side to present their view, and no doubt, of course, they have to present the government side, but albeit far from what the Permanent Secretary of Ministry of Agriculture says, I don't think he should be listened to because, quite frankly, whatever he has said, when you do the collaborative research, you could see it was just government propaganda. We can step aside to that. But there are other people who have sought to present information on that level. Matt, allow me to say that perhaps one of the contributions that has stuck with me, and perhaps I can express as a little level of concern, is that of Mr. Felix Gregoire, whom I have a level of appreciation and respect for, because of the fact that if you know of the professional and administrative background of Mr. Gregoire, he has been permanent secretary, I think, in 3 ministries. He has served at the highest level as cabinet secretary of Dominica, and now he's an ambassador to Dominica. I have listened to his utterances and his statement, and I must say again, this is where Ms. Brisbane comes in. I admire her response to him out of due respect for that. But you see, Matt, I began by saying Dominica needs mediation because we are at an impasse. And one of the things I would suggest to Mr. Gregoire is, given his foray of experience and insight, albeit a lot of it, of course, was debated and analyzed and dissected by Ms. Brisbane, my advice to him, friendly, fraternally, is to step back from his statement, because clearly he was speaking in his experiential professional capacity with a lot of a certain level of nuance that would suggest a little bias. But you see, Matt, I think, quite frankly, Mr. Gregoire, the position that he holds now and the positions that he has held, is a fitting person to mediate the impasse that we have now. His experience in the Division of Forestry, his experience as permanent secretary, I think, in 3 ministries, his experience as cabinet secretary, his experience as ambassador, should invite him to rise above any nuance of partisanship and volunteer himself to be the mediator for such an impasse. Because it means that he comes with the requisite administrative experience, he comes with the requisite government, public sector procedural background, and he comes with a certain level of you could say, albeit ability to sit and listen. I know he has that, because this is somebody I worked with, and one of the things I always admired about Felix Gregoire is his ability to sit and listen and to ensure that views are expressed, facts are presented on the table, and certain levels of discourse can take place. And I think, that is why I say, and I share with him, if I have a chance to speak to him, I tell him to straight that I'm disappointed in him. And I'm disappointed with him for making that nuanced statement. But at the same time, I want to as well commend him for making a statement which would enlighten the fact that he is now putting himself out there as a possible person representative who can bring an end to this impasse before us. I would also like to suggest that this is the time for a national forum. This is a time when the government should go to the major conference room of Kempinski Hotel, if it's a Jungle Day, or if it's a parish hall, or if it's the St. George Hall, or if it's the Public Service Training Center, and go there and have some sort of head table discussion with both sides. Allow all the scientific people who have presented all the geographic and scientific data to the general public of Dominica, where I would invite every geography teacher in Dominica, every lawyer in Dominica, every architect, every project planner, and the general public, the church included, and local government people, some people even from the area of the Kalinago territory who were directly affected and Concord, bring them there, have the Carib chief, the Minister of Environment, and I haven't heard much from him, and maybe his silence might be a positive or a negative sign, because I would see it as hopefully positive, and hoping that he would be in the background collecting all the necessary information and data that he needs to gather and his capacity as the minister, and bring people from the airport project and the government and make presentations to the Dominican public. That will be the first step. Hear all sides and let people come up with some kind of conclusion. And then, Matt, if it is that the government realizes that they're making a mistake, move on. Take the information that is presented, take the facts and the data and the scientific research and everything, and be honest and say, okay, we made a mistake this time. We are admitting it publicly. We thought that was the best route to take. We thought that this was the best alternative. It was proposed to us that this is the best way to go. However, having listened to everything, we are now saying, okay, let us look at alternative sites and let us move on. Let us move on as a country so that we can get this project back on track. So the government cannot be on its high horse. They cannot continue to be stubborn, because I think what I am hearing, Matt, from the grapevine, that there are other national, regional, and international specialists and professionals who are going to speak on the Debwash issue. I suspect that the government is lining up its propagandists to also counteract what is being said. That is not the way to go. It cannot be solved by propaganda. It cannot be solved by politics, playing politics, and it cannot be solved by bringing all kinds of notable people to speak who may or may not make a fool of themselves and allow people to have a lower esteem to them that they already have. What I think we need to do is discuss, dialogue, bring the information to people. And then, for God's sake, if cabinet can go back and say, okay, fine. We thought this was the best place. There are other alternatives in Dominica, which I think we need to explore. And because, let's face it, I fail to believe that Debwash is the only place in Dominica, given our varied geological and topographical diverse resource, is the only place that can possibly have what they want for the airport. I fail to believe that. And so therefore, if it is that there was a misjudgment or miscalculated call or a bad decision, let's admit it. Let's move on. And not have to go from the woodworks and pull out all kinds of people to come and make a case, which to my mind, because one of the things Miss Brisbane clearly cited is the variance of the observations of Mr. Gregoire versus her observations, meaning that Mr. Gregoire basically dealt with what is, in simple language, what is above the soil. They are dealing with what is below the soil. So clearly there's a difference in outlook, a difference in viewpoint. That can be married by Mr. Gregoire's presentation of the above ground observations and the underground observations of the scientists. That could be the beginning of the stopping point, and to see how, to what extent the relative damage will take place. So, Matt, you see, again, it's very sad, Matt. I mean, when you look at Dominica, Matt, people fighting each other over religion. People fighting. Every sporting group in Dominica have some kind of data or some kind of thing about them. Dominicans are at odds and at ends with people. Bouillon artists fighting with each other. Church people fighting with each other. Labor rights and GWP fighting with each other. Aren't we fighting with each other enough over other things? For us to continue to have that battle over such a major project in Dominica, which has far more benefits for Dominica that is beyond any other thing. Now that it is incumbent upon us, because we can almost see the Dominicans really want to continue to have to fly around in American Airlines for half an hour when there's rain and clouds for them to Canada. The Dominicans really want to be left over 3-4 hours in connecting airports. The Dominicans really want to continue not having the opportunity to fly direct and to go. The Dominicans really want to continue to have the opportunity not having big hotels and thousands of tourists. No, we don't want that. We want to advance. We want to know that we have easy air access, that we have good landing, that we have tourism and prospects, that we have investment, that our shipping is lower, that we can have things in Dominica. Right now, Matt, if your family dies in the United States, you can't even fly them in directly to Dominica. You have to go pay $30,000-$40,000 from America to St. Lucia and bring them on the boat. Come on, man. When are we going to go beyond that? But we are at a stage where the construction of this international airport, which is long awaited, long needed, very much vital, is creating a certain level, I would say right now, acrimony, because people are all beginning to cast aspersions and call each other names and this and that and this. But the fact is, we can have a healthy debate. We can have a productive discussion. We can have a healthy outcome. If in the midst of all this information that is being presented, and one cannot say, you listen to Ms. Tong, you listen to Ms. Brisbane, you listen to the other scientists, you listen to everybody, they are far more factual than any of the presentations made by the government. Any university, high school person, anybody who has studied, anybody who has done research, bachelor, master's, can tell you that the weight of information, data gathering, data interpretation, presentation of facts and findings is stronger on the people who are concerned about what is happening in Debwash today. And the government, to my mind, is short in coming up with the equal level of evidence to prove that we must use Debwash. That's why it's an impasse. That's an impasse. And so every impasse needs mediation. And the mediation, I think, that I would call for today is let's have a national public forum. The cabinet can come and sit at the front. The opposition to be invited. The environment, everybody come, let's discuss this thing. And let's have presentations. I mean, we're not fools. We can think for ourselves. We are able. We look at the information that was given some time ago about the discrepancies between the EIA report and other things. This is what highlighted. But I think that we cannot go on like that. Cannot go on, how you call it, like discounting facts here, trying to bring credibility, etc., etc. And I would nominate, quite frankly, and I'm glad he has spoken, and I've listened to him, albeit I think if I have a chance to speak to him, I will share my concerns with him, because I would really want to know why did he make this statement, and instead of using his influence, Mr. Francis Gregoire, as I said, is current CARICOM ambassador. He's a former cabinet secretary, permanent secretary, Ministry of Education, Agriculture, Communications and Works. He has served in, I think, 3 major permanent secretaries. 1, Communications and Works, Construction of Works, Agriculture, in charge of forestry, education, in charge of bringing people together to learn, and cabinet secretary, advising government at the highest level, and now being Dominica's ambassador to CARICOM. I think these credentials alone raises him up to the professional level to be given the opportunity to bring Dominica together, to bring the opposition and not the opposition, but those with alternative views together, and say, let's listen to each other. And maybe he can serve as a commission for about a month to make recommendations for a proper alternative site. And that would be his best legacy for retirement I would think. And if we go down in history as being the person who was able to solve that impasse that exists currently in Dominica, but I don't see it going away. As I said, I've been reliably informed that there's some more regional, scientific, and professional people who might be coming forward, and even international people. Do we want that? Do we want that when our very own are telling us what needs to be done? And we should listen to them. And it will serve the government well, to, as I said, have Miss Brisbane serve in some capacity. Because I've listened to this lady, I've listened to this girl, I've listened to her. She's impeccable at her deliberations, her presentations, her analysis, very eclectic. When last in Dominica have we heard such eclectic debates taking place? No, everything doesn't have to be negative.
Well, I'll tell you what, Simeon, because of time, I would recommend that you be the assistant there. So thank you very much, Mr. Simeon Joseph. Food for thought. Let's come together for the national good, and build this international airport. We hear from all sides. Thank you, as always. Food for thought. A lot of food for thought there. My social scientist, Mr. Simeon Joseph. I'm sure we'll continue to talk about this. Maybe tomorrow we will have a discussion just on that point, of these points made by Simeon Joseph. But before we go, something else is coming up very interesting. This time from the south. Stick around, Dominica. Stick around. Dominica. Remember the guy called UNICEF from Grand Bay? Philip Francis. I think that idea was born from UNICEF. Some activities have been planned this week, and we have some representatives from South Grand Bay, Mr. Paul Toussaint Collier and Mr. John Roach. Plan the activities, and of course his burial coming soon, I think on the 10th? Friday. So that's what we'll be spending our time doing for the next half an hour. So let me allow my friend, my partner, we danced better together a long time ago. Mr. John Rocha.
All the way in England.
All the way in England. Can you believe I was dancing belly? Representing Dominica. So, Mr. Roach, let me allow you to lead the discussion this afternoon there on this big celebration of UNICEF, Philip Francis, and the funeral service and some activities leading up to that day. Mr. John Roach, good afternoon to you.
Yeah, thanks, Matt, for the opportunity to come and present to Dominica, both here and abroad, what it is that we're putting together for UNICEF. I have my colleague with me, who is also a member of the committee. Paul, to say, introduce yourself.
He's no stranger to the studios.
I'm
No?
happy to be in the studio.
All right, good.
Let me first give thanks to the King for having us here today.
Of course.
And special greetings to Q95 and crew.
Of course.
And let me send a special greetings to my wife, Nika Tevandi, and my 4 children in Granby.
You have 4?
4
So
children.
go Boogma.
While I'm here, let me take the opportunity to send a special greetings to the whole community of Granby and the world by extension. Mr. Ralph Alcendo in the United States, special greetings to you. You support and we appreciate that you are part of the community also.
Okay. All right. So tell us what's going on there, Roach. Why did you plan these activities in memory of Mr. UNICEF?
Yeah, well, UNICEF passed away on the 7th of March. And as soon as we heard of his passing, some, concerned people from Granby came together and decided, something, we cannot just go and bury this man. Something has to happen. We have to give this man a hero's send-off. And in fact, Holy, if you know Holy, John Baptist John was the one who initiated the whole idea. And called a few leaders from the community to come together. And we also approached the Granby Village Council, who were very happy to join with us to put together a package, a program as part of his send-off. And I also want to say thanks to the government of Dominica, who also endorsed the idea and have been working with us in supporting to ensure that UNICEF gets a good send-off.
All right. But before we get continue, can you give us a little background as to who UNICEF is? A lot of young people don't understand who, the significance of UNICEF.
Okay. People may have heard about Mohot Gwanbi, like the term.
Yeah.
Because there was a time when you see from Granby,
That's fair.
It carried a certain weight because Granby was not considered as an ordinary village in Dominica. It was considered as the village in Dominica that Granby always led, And the question was why. And the Geneva Uprising in 1974 should be what probably caused that in terms of, because you have a whole community that came together and fought Nassif in 1974, because Nassif occupied more than 75% of the land in Granby. So
the plantation.
Yes, I mean, basically we had no place for housing, no place for development of infrastructure, for recreation and so on. So UNICEF came down from St. Croix in around 1973, 1974. And in fact, coming from a similar uprising that happened in St. Croix where he stayed, which also there was that similar revolution of people fighting for land and so on. And so when it came to Dominica, meeting Dominica, Granby, his community in that similar situation, he just started that whole movement. And yes, UNICEF is the face of the 1974 uprising, but it would not have been successful had it not been the support he got from the community. There were some key people who played some very important role. And during the course of the week, when we'll be talking about it, we'll be highlighting some of the key people who played a very important role in the uprising in Granby. And what this did was to make land available for Granby people to use for their own social and economic development. And hence, and he did it not looking for anything for himself. And that is why we really see him as a hero. Because everything that people try to do for him to say thank you for what you did, he would not accept it. He would refuse it. He would not accept money from anybody. Really? That was the kind of person he was. So he sacrificed his life to show that I was not doing it for myself. I was doing it for the Granby people. And that is why it's important that generations and generations that people that have not even been born from Granby need to know who helped Granby to be what Granby is today. Can you imagine Granby in 2026 had there not been such a revolution 52 years ago? It would be a completely different Granby. We'll probably all be living on the mountain. Yeah, because we would not have probably the Geneva playing field. We would not have the PHR Secondary School. We would not have the community center where the village council is currently. Where I live currently, Matt, as part of what we call Bala Park. I would not know where, because all that was part of the nasty farm plantation. Mopo, Makaton, these are areas where you have most of the farmers. You know, the whole banana, at certain time, Granby was one of the leading communities in the banana. Yeah, you know, and it was because all those happened after the uprising in 1974. Yeah. But during the week, as we say, we will be exploring, you know, what we refer to as the socio-economic impact of the uprising on Granby. So I'll let Collier see.
Of course, I know Collier stands. When Collier stands, he stands. So tell me the reason you decided to be part of that movement, Collier.
Well, Matt, I was 6 years of age when that uprising took place. And I could remember we had teacher Derek from Bagatelle. He was the head teacher of the Granby School, Derek Francis. And when that took place, he had to let go all the children in the school. Instead, we go home, we go and drink jelly. That is jelly trees, the uprising fellas cut down. Okay. We go drinking jellies and we go home. But my main reason for coming here, if it wasn't for that hero, that true hero, a loving hero, I would not have land. We would be like crab in the barrel. I want to let the only people know that. And I want to let the elderlies educate all your children. Let all your children know about our hero. We need to recognize that man. Martin Luther King, Mandela have been recognized. People have been recognizing their heroes in different communities. Why we can't recognize ours? Okay. We have to. And that man is a true hero, Matt. Matt, I have land, both farming and housing. And it wasn't for that man, we do have land. And for the people that thinking because they buy land with their money, let me tell you something. If it wasn't for that man, land would not be available. So that man deserves to be buried like a hero. And we are going to bury him like a hero, Matt. Matt, if it wasn't for that man, if every Sunday we have, and the Granby people know that, every Sunday we have some activity we start on the playing field, you must have heard. I heard we live, you know? And then, if it wasn't for that man, we would not have that field. So let me give a big plus for that man, you know? So that is why we, the committee that come together, we choose to make the ceremony on the playing field. Okay. And we would like him to bury at the spot where we are staying. As you know, we work with the village council, we work together because we ask the whole community to come together. When you come to that community, who come on board and be involved.
But there's no politics involved.
No, Matt, let me shake you out on that. I heard a little rumor, this is politics. Matt, it is time we put those things behind our back. Granby is or was. And I want to see unity and love. And I see in the togetherness because every Sunday we have a little activity on the playing field. And I can feel the togetherness, Matt. I can feel the love. And I love it. I want it to stay so.
To continue.
So the people that trying to divide the community with politics, I'm asking you, please.
Stop it.
Stop it, please. We don't need that. We never used to be that type of people before. We all had our political status. When election finish, we together and we party.
That's how I remember Granby.
That's how we used to be. I would like it to be so, Matt. You know what I'm saying? So I'm asking the whole community. The whole community to participate in burial UNICEF. We want it to be big. We want it to be a history, Matt. And it's not also that. From now on, every year, the committee will put something in place for us to be celebrating the date of the uprising. Because it's a legacy. We can't leave that go so. And while I'm on the studio, let me take the opportunity. Matt, you have children, I have children. Johnny have children. We'll all love our children.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever we have
True.
is for our children.
Mhm.
Am I wrong?
That's true.
So if UNICEF where you're staying, that is his property,
Mm-hmm.
I am begging and calling
Mm-hmm.
for what is done here to be his children own. The
Mhm.
legacy is supposed to be that to his children. Let his children feel that it wasn't for daddy, I would not be there.
You have kids?
So what?
You
Yeah, he have
though?
kids.
Okay.
I think maybe I have 3 or 4.
Well, we know of 3.
We know 3. So I'm asking who is in charge or whatever, or asking even the community,
Okay.
the whole community to stand up here to UNICEF son or whatever to make sure that he get that property.
Okay.
That is what I'm.
Let's take a phone call, a few phone calls. Are you there, caller? Hello, yes? Some people are trying to call in. Are you there, caller?
Yes, Matt, I'm there, Matt.
Yes, sir.
Matt, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon to
And
you.
to the two Grenbarians on the community, Matt, on the committee, Matt. Matt, I want to tell them I'm very proud of them, you know. I am a true Grenbarian, born and bred in Granby and living in Granby. And I am telling you, I cannot be there, but I'll be there in spirit. UNICEF is really a hero. Because of UNICEF, where I have my house in Granby was Geneva's land. Where I have my land in Granby, my agricultural land was also Geneva's land. So without the effort of UNICEF, we would be still crowded up in Lally. So Granby, the whole of Granby must honor UNICEF. And I agree and I'm in full support. Although I cannot be there, but I'll be there in spirit. Well done, fellas. Well done. Keep it up.
All right, thank you. Let's take my phone calls on the telephone. Are you there? Yes?
Yes, man. Good afternoon. I'm there. Boss, what happened me the call here?
Bon après-midi, Lucille.
C'est pas Lucille qui là.
Blue, sorry. Blue.
Yes.
Oui. The what time talk about it, what did me? Tout à l'heure, j'ai mis un mouna y'a kadi y'a checkot. Akino y'a
UNICEF, oui.
UNICEF travaille ba Jagwabe. C'est qui la cause Jagwabe pour ni. C'est yo sabi yo kagaye boss. Yo sa fait misi bagay because of UNICEF. UNICEF tape site pour tape avayi mo. Moun ta ka gade UNICEF pour qu'il aider les bagay, les mancher, les tout bagay. Moun va peut-être aider. Moi kamade check ça because moi te kele ça because I tell my imo il parle tout ces bagay ça là c'est l'aide ka vivre il laisse moun ni pour responsabilité pour qu'il aider et puis tous ces jeunes gens Gambé là they should have ça l'autre because c'est UNICEF you need tout c'est mama et puis papa yo ça gagne boss yo ça fait bon kay Gambé because of UNICEF ma chan la motan sa chan mala sa bite mo ko akin no la ki mo hod ma hola tout a pas de Ali yo fait tellement gros bagay ba Ali moi wa Ali wete l'hôpital 3 semaines après ma ouais moun ka venir là ouais Ali ma sa si yo te ka venir là maté là pour tous les soirs mon ka quitter là mon ka toujours di Ali boss ma te ka ouais moun là actuellement moi yo fait tout gros bagay ba Ali c'est les moun là ka vive moun te chou ka aider non c'est moun là ouais MC moi te kele Wadix fait même work ça yo ka fait actuellement Wadix c'est quelque chose ba MC ba moi souple a pas MC quitter il peut que ça ka pour place mais souple famille qui parle friend qui parle moun parle ni bonjour mon ka écouter ça.
All right, thank you. But we did actually honor UNICEF a couple of programs ago. So he was alive when we give him the honor. But you want to say something?
Yeah, but it's not only that. UNICEF was a very special person. He was not accepting things from anybody. I mean, even the government tried to do certain things for UNICEF and he would not accept it. So when people say that that people didn't look after him
they tried.
People try and he would just not. Matt, you could come and bring all the money or whatever. He will not take it from you. He was
a level of pride.
It wasn't pride. I think there was a spirit that was telling him to protect himself because there were forces against him. You have to remember what the man did, What the man did was not easy, It was, I think there was spiritual things after him.
Okay.
And then he was feeling it. And then he was using whatever form. And one of the forms he was using to protect himself was just not accepting things from anybody.
I understand.
That was the kind of person he was. So I don't think it's fair to say that Granby people didn't help him or didn't
Didn't want to.
Yeah, Granby people. I mean, a lot of his friends who would come from overseas, they tell you they would go by him, check him, and offer him things, and then he would just not accept it. So he was the kind of person, for example, I know there was a time when they tried to give him a piece of land, and he would just tell them straight he doesn't want land. So the idea, what we're doing now, while he didn't accept it, and then remember, he doesn't have certificate of title that we can pass on to the children.
I guess your point now.
Right. So what the committee wants to do now is to use the committee along with the Granby Village Council to make an effort to see that his children, his free children, get something
in his name.
In his name. That is why we refer to as the legacy part of the committee.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
You want to make a point?
Yes. Blue.
Mm-hmm.
You heard what the gentleman said, that Blue. That man was a special man. That man did not do nothing for neither name, neither fame. Like people did. When people do things, they want people to know or recognize them. That man do things because of love of community and humanity.
Mm-hmm.
That is why UNICEF did that. You'd buy a jelly from UNICEF, he tell you $3, you tell him, you give him $5, tell him only $2, he'll run and tell you, look, your $2. He don't want it. So that issue of...
At what age you passed?
76.
Okay.
That issue of he was not being recognized by his people, I don't think that's the right statement.
Okay.
Because that man was a special man. That man was living in the world, in another world by himself.
Yeah. Interesting. On the telephone, more telephone calls, yes? Uh-huh.
Yes, Matt, good afternoon to you and to your guests and to your listeners, Matt. I had the opportunity to meet UNICEF 2015. I was working on the bridge from between Granby to the Savannah area, and I met him. And what this guy just said, that he wouldn't want your change if you give him $5 and so. So I had the opportunity to meet UNICEF and interact with him, and everything they are saying about UNICEF, I think, of lack of what I know, but I think he is a very good man. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. And this son was born out of his love, huh? That's a correct statement, huh? That song.
Oh, yes.
When you see Chubby, ask him. I think you were relating a story as to this song was born because of UNICEF. Yeah?
Yes. Remember that at the time when Chobi was sent to prison, remember they had that law,
right?
One coconut for 1 year. Remember that estate belonged to Nassif. It was under the Jennifer estate. Right.
I get you.
Now I always get goosebumps whenever I hear Coco Sec, because when we contacted Chobi to perform, because we're going to have a big celebration after the funeral on Friday, and Midnight Groovers will be playing.
Mm-hmm.
So when we contacted Chobi and tell Chobi, well, it's free of charge then for he said anything, and he called it Buddha. He said anything for Buddha, and he would say Buddha ki femo ki mun moi jodi.
More telephone calls coming in there. Hello, talk to me on the telephone, yes? Sorry. Hello, talk to me, yes? Hello?
Hello, Matt?
How you doing?
Pretty good. This is Ole. I worked with UNICEF in restoring the ruins in Geneva.
Okay.
UNICEF was very much an integral part of rebuilding the burnt buildings in 1999, 98.
Mm-hmm.
And this man, we promised, we wanted to build him a house. in an area where he had a shot, and he never accepted it. And the thing about it, UNICEF never left Geneva. The thing about UNICEF, what we call the European concept of land ownership, he just never accepted that, because he lived on the estate from the beginning, since the end of the uprising up till when he died.
Okay.
So the thing is, he lived on the estate all the time. He's one of the people who never abandoned the estate. He lived in basically the same area all the time. And this guy was a very selfless and independent person. I worked with him in organizing GTEC, which is a Grand Bay Tourism and Environmental Committee. He was involved in restoring the buildings, in welding, and a lot of stuff. So I can attest to that this man, I mean, he didn't want anybody's help. He was a very independent man, and he just wasn't too much into material stuff. Very selfless kind of person. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Somebody's asking, how did he get his name, UNICEF?
Very interesting story. And actually, I only got to know about it when we had the very first, the first meeting to conceptualize the committee. And actually, there were two persons who gave me that story. Manchild, Harry and Henry Manjaro gave us one side of the story, which somehow was basically the same as another friend of his called Philip Santos, a man in Canada. They call him Saka Boy. And they both gave almost the same story, but slightly different. But there was that claim that came from UNICEF, UNICEF, United Nations Children International Emergency Fund. And they used to make claim, they used to make a nice milk, powdered milk and so on. And then, but they say UNICEF that used to make the nice, when UNICEF make it was like nicer. But then they say whenever he himself scratches food or anything, it used to be white. Okay. So one of the classmates, and that's at primary school, one of the classmates does call him UNICEF. And the name just stayed with him. But even afterwards, a lot of people kind of shorten it and calling him Sefla instead of UNICEF. Sefla, and then later on Buddha. So these were the nicknames that he
somebody just asking, sir, but a lot of phone calls coming at this time. Hello, talk to me, yes?
Yeah, good day. Mon be calling the John Bon après-midi et m'apprécie. Car c'est un bel travail par village là, mon cas qui va faire ce courage et nous quand c'est un village en général qui vient nous des qui parle qui milité pour faire meeting à ça un grand événement en South City. C'est tout une qui a d'activité là. Nous savons à la Caraïbe, la zone capitale de Nyobaï, qui touche tout plan, même nous avons pas touché tout plan, parce que si la l'UNICEF qui a guidé toute une nouvelle communauté, et nous avons dit tout le temps. Nous avons parlé avec nous, merci on l'ouvre avec tous les membres.
All right, thank you.
Merci, Mama.
Talk to me.
I just hope them people didn't take me wrong. They were just asking a question. That here so much has been done for the man. So I wanted to know if those things that they are talking about now were being done for him before. So I hear they say yes, it was being done, but he wasn't accepting it. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, talk to me, yes?
Matt, good afternoon, my partner.
Good afternoon to you, my brother. How you doing?
I'm cool. Now, that song about Nyokoko, it didn't make on the behalf of UNICEF. It make on the behalf of for himself. When he passed on the earth.
We know that what he's saying, if it wasn't for UNICEF, he would not have what he had today. That's basically what we're saying, yeah?
No. He went on that estate and took a coconut. The watchman at the time arrested him and they sent him 6 months. So when he came out to jail, he made that song because that watchman ended up in a bad position in Grand Bay. He even got mad and was even going after people with cutlass.
But I think you kind of confusing. You misinterpreted what he's trying to say.
What was saying because of the uprising, it made the song even more popular.
Remember, he was on the land. Nasib owned the land there.
Yes.
So that's what they're saying. 449-3095. This caller misinterpreted what we were saying earlier. But thank you again. Let's have a little more of Coco Sec. Huh? Let's do this one. Come on, what's going on with you? Kwame, what time is the funeral on Friday?
Okay, so the funeral's on, but I want to go
Yes,
through
the activities.
Yeah, so we started this morning in clearing the area where he's going to be buried on Friday. So
that's close to his home?
Exactly where he was living.
Oh,
not on the land, on the Geneva estate, on the land where he was living. So that's where he will be buried. The tomb, everything set up there already. So today, we started today. I think we'll continue tomorrow and Thursday to make sure that we have proper clean up and so on. And then we have the support of the NEP and the Granby Village Council who are working along with us. This evening we will be having an activity called an open mic. The open mic will be where a number of people who experience the uprising will be coming to share the experience. Also, it will provide an opportunity for persons to ask questions about the uprising and have that kind of interaction. On tomorrow evening, which is Wednesday, we will have what we refer to as the historical fact of Granby, historical account of Granby. So we have some persons who will be doing some presentation on that. Paul Lauer Alexander is one of them. Patrick Hill-John, Senator Patrick Hill-John who was senator in the U.S. Virgin Islands. We have Crispin Gregoire also will be presenting. Holy John Baptist John himself will be presenting. Harrian Henry, also Manchild, will be presenting. A number of other people will be coming to basically give us a little what we call a historical account of Granby. And then on Thursday evening, we will have that panel discussion looking at the socioeconomic impact of the Geneva uprising on Granby. And our panelists will be Willie Fevrier, Crispin Gregoire, Patrick Hill, and then I will be the moderator for that panel discussion.
I think Mr. Blanc, my good friend Mr. Blanc, had something to say. Are you there? He said he wanted to congratulate you guys. Yes, Mr. Blanc, Sakafet.
Away, and I must congratulate.
Oh, that's Limrod Blanc.
Yeah, yes. Yeah. He just wants to congratulate you guys.
Yeah, thank
you, Mr. Blanc.
Thanks, Gregory.
Yes. Yeah, all right. Thank you, Mr. Blanc. I'm back, Sagafe.
Good afternoon, man. Bon après-midi. I was in soldat. Soldat is soldat already out there. Soldat is soldat.
A soldat.
Able to do with the UNICEF, everything with that one be. Not only to respect the level that do with the village, collect everything on the road. That able to do with that one be. Everyone come back to 100%. A soldat là. Well, a soldat are not. You need to wait for people to do that one day. Because nous n'y fondation, actuellement, nous bouquons les decks. Avec mission les decks, non. Mais, ouais, tout ça, monsieur Kadou, you highlight, Buddha highlight, avec Tobika highlight, monsieur, pour yon kokoa. Bougla qui est là, puis on avait dit que, our 6 months, on dit, and back kadi. C'est pour la petite boue. Tobi fait chanter ça pour yon koko. Avec mon cabas force là pour Johnny Rothio. Avec ma ni pour le bénéficiaire là. UNICEF dit qu'on ne pas t'aider à rien. Monsieur vini on lève monsieur tu peux nous c'est pas faire tout bout pas comme tout bout pas yo. Non ça connaît. monter, mon gars, yon gel dans la même ici. Mon va monsieur secteur là, monsieur pas mon, monsieur dit mon, fais dans la pour gel. Monsieur pas dans rien moun. Elle veut dire mon ouais même bagaille là il a fait ya, mon même paye. Pas mal bon des potes mon ami. Une de yo, fait yo manger bien. Il dit mon so bon goût. Elle veut mon dit mon ka monter, chef là, mon ka monter ba gwande. Mais massa we done right. Monsieur dit mon ka allez, pas fait moun. Le mouton, ça, monsieur dit mon. Monsieur dit mon. Mon c'est king là, mon pour ça. Pas plein moun. Elle veut m'appeler moun. Mon du week-end, mon fait yon danse, bon colère. Mon voix est pas ouais. So mon ken, on y peut enjoy call, so c'est pas tout pour pas vous appeler. Là, mon ka wete à no. Highland. C'est ça, c'est là. Et qui goûte pour là. Elle veut nous payer. Nous payons, le gouvernement pour Pierre Charles, nous payons, mais tout le monde nous paye. So, on est pour Doubout, avec Collège, Johnny Roach, West Bay, nous là, et nous pas là. Nous pas ça.
Ah ouais, pas de problème. When we come back, we'll talk about the funeral service to take place on Friday. Give us a second.